All right, we are back here on the podcast. Happy New Year, just on the suffering audience. Just kicking off 2024 in style here with Pop Culture Party 5. We recap the year of pop culture in 2023. With me, as always, our pop culture correspondent, Sam Derosa is here. Sam, how are you?
Hey, Happy New Year, Mike.
Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on here. Also with us here today, fresh off some margaritas last night, kicking the new year, Barstool Sports' own John Stanko is here. Stanko, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Mike. Sam, good to see you again. Yeah, battling this morning. Slow start to 2024 here in Norwalk, Connecticut, but we're here. We're here.
Yeah, we're rising, Stanko.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah, absolutely here. And we have some fun to do here. As you mentioned, this is an annual series, I think, dating back to what was it, 2019? We did this in person, and since then we're doing it virtually.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go through the headlines of the year in pop culture. We can go through TV, movies, anything else you want to talk about here. We're going to sort of condense the format this year because Stanko, thanks to all these strikes, there was not a ton of content on the back half.
No, there was not. I mean, a lot of other kind of non-TV movie entertainment popped up. I think we're going to talk about some musicians and some artists who dominated the year and some other maybe celebrity drama that wasn't necessarily on the television that really ramped up people's social media platforms and stuff like that. But in terms of stuff that was actually new on the screen, definitely a bit of a downturn with the writer's strike and such, as you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to the headlines here. So we have to go to, I think, our number one headline of the year here. I'll go to Sam. That's Stanko's going to weigh on this in a minute here. So Taylor Swift, I think, took over 2023.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. And good for her. Props to her. I don't know. I don't know who else can even come close to Taylor Swift this year. So everybody knows my feelings on good old T Swift, but hey, just impressed.
Yeah, all over to Stanko now. Stanko has a lot to say, I'm sure.
I mean, she's an economy unto herself. She's literally generating billions of dollars, and it's just she's literally could be like a global power with the amount of money she's made with this Eras tour. It's crazy. And then you got the whole infiltrating the NFL now with the Travis Kelce relationship, which actually seems real, as crazy as that sounds. She's screaming F bombs at players and stuff when they're messing up on the field during games. I love it. It's impossible to deny that Taylor Swift dominated 2023. She's a Time Person of the Year. That article was awesome. She encompassed every single part of culture, whether it be music, whether it be movies with the concert she put out, the most successful concert film ever, whether it be sports with the NFL. She was absolutely everywhere. And she did it seemingly without much drama or anything like that. She kind of avoided everything, and it's been smooth sailing. There's been no waves, no crashes, no nothing. And I think it's a testament to her master craft of public relations. And she has a way to have the zeitgeist talk about her all the time. So, I mean, we're going to eventually talk about the MVP of 2023. And you're starting off with the strongest contender here in Taylor Swift. Undeniable.
Yeah, for sure here. And Stanko, I also want to get your take here on the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce couple pairing here that sort of emerged late in the year. So that also became a big like pop culture magnet.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy for them. Sam, I don't know how you feel, but love is love. I don't care. At the beginning, I was like, this is a little weird, but they do seem to genuinely like each other. Travis Kelce seems to be acting like the luckiest man in the world, going, holy shit, Taylor Swift is dating me. And he's just over the moon like a golden retriever, like traveling to her concerts and stuff like that. The video of her running off stage after one of her concerts, I think it was in Brazil, into his arms at the end, that was adorable. It was just adorable. So it's like you can't deny it. Like it's cute. And is it gonna last? I don't know. I hope it does. Like this is the type of thing where I'm not rooting against it, but naturally celebrity relationships don't always last as long as you'd like. Taylor Swift does tend to burn short and fast sometimes with these relationships. So I don't know, but I'm rooting for it. I'm happy for it. And I don't care about all the people in the NFL, like blah, 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 like, oh, she's being shown on the TV too much, stuff like that or whatever. I don't care. It was big for a week. People got annoyed by it, and now it's just part of the thing. And it's good for Taylor Swift. It's good for the NFL. It's obviously good for Travis Kelce too. I'm happy for it. Love is love, Sam. Love is love.
Listen, my only hang up about this whole thing with Taylor Swift, and it is just so selfish of me. It's just save some for the rest of us. Like, again, at first I was like very hesitant about the whole relationship because I was like, oh, that's interesting. But let me tell you, solidified after that she ran off the stage and gave him a hug in Brazil, like solidified. I was like, I'm literally crying, and I don't cry at anything. I'm like, this is adorable. So, I mean, ever since then, I've been like, you know what? Good for them. Even though I'm a little jealous because Travis Kelce is a 10 out of 10, but that's just me thing. That's a me hang.
Time. He's not a 10 out of 10. He's like a 6.5 out of 10, a 7 out of 10.
He's a 10 out of 10. Look
he's
at him.
He's not a 10 out of 10. Like, his personality is great, but in terms of looks, there are more attractive people in the world. Now, looks aren't the only thing, obviously.
Okay, but I have this weird obsession with Officer Jim Dangle from Reno 911, and he posted a Instagram story, Travis Kelce, that he said new boo goofing, and I was like, that's it, I'm done, I'm in love. And that was right before they started dating, and then I had my soul crushed. So
all right, well, for anyone who wanted to get to know Sam Derosa more personally, there you go. Reno 911's a key to her heart.
Yep, 5 minutes of the podcast, you got that information, so thank you, Sam.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm an open book.
Yeah, I also will say here, I think the NFL is loving this too. I mean, Stanko, we saw after the Jet game, he said Chiefs are 2-0 on the Swifty era on their Instagram bios here, and like they basically show every chance they can here. It does feel like the NFL, we've been pitching this for years, Sam and I, on the Super Bowl podcast, that like she's got to do the halftime show at some point. I feel like they are angling long and hard to hope this lasts long if she wants to do it next year, not this year.
Yeah, but then she's come out and said that she doesn't want to like take away because she knows that her fans are going to purchase, all the tickets. So I have a feeling that she might not ever do it unless there's like a separate place for her to perform.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think she's keen on doing it because she doesn't need to. Like, right, she's on top of the world. People use the Super Bowl halftime show to kind of spark up something that's missing or to get back in the zeitgeist. Like, Rihanna hadn't been making music for how long, and then she does the halftime show and she gets back in the zeitgeist, the pregnancy announcement, everything, and she's all of a sudden back in pop culture again. She never left, but she wasn't as vibrant as she was after the Super Bowl show. Taylor Swift's the sun. Everything's revolving around her right now. There's no reason for her to step in front of that stage and do it. Like, she's on top of the world.
Yeah, Stank, I think you may misinterpret my point here. I feel like that, like I've said in the past years, like Taylor Swift does not need the NFL. The NFL needs Taylor Swift. That's the way I was sort of viewing it as. They're trying to do everything they can to convince her to do it.
It was very funny to see Taylor Swift fans try and understand the NFL and that going around social media, the videos and stuff like that. The videos of girls talking to guys about how Taylor Swift made Travis Kelce famous or whatever, or the other way around, and the infighting and the jokes about that. So yeah, sure, the NFL is benefiting for sure. It's a new demographic. We'll see how long it lasts and how long the spark flies, if you will. But I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so I think that's enough Taylor Swift.
I got Sam with that one. I got her with that one.
I got her. Bad. It was
yeah, I got her.
So bad. Oh man.
I think it's time to move on to something else here in the headline section here. So Stanko, let's talk Barbenheimer, which is the movie event of the summer.
Yeah. Yeah, guess what? 2 very, very good movies. And you were either on one side or the other. The majority of the culture was on the Barbie side. I leaned toward Oppenheimer. I went to go see that first, but now having seen both movies, I get it. Like, both were very good movies, both very different, and both successful in attacking different type of movie watchers. I just, speaking strictly for me, I don't think Barbie is a great movie. I think it's very good. I think it's a comedy that lands some points and misses on others. But I had a great time watching it. It's very, very rewatchable. And I think that's why it punctured the culture as much as it did, with probably the best movie marketing campaign of our lifetime, in terms of just the way it encompassed everything. The world was pink for an entire month because of Barbie. So Barbenheimer was a huge success, and guess what? It's great for Hollywood in a year where they didn't have a lot of new movies with the writers and the actors strike and stuff like that. Barbenheimer kept Hollywood alive and afloat for the majority of the year.
Yeah, Sam, did you complete the Barbenheimer experience?
Yes, I have. I got to see Barbie in theaters just for my schedule worked out better wise, and I've recently watched Oppenheimer. Then I rewatched Barbie again because it's been so long. I also lean more heavily towards the Oppenheimer of the two. I just thought that at some points Barbie was a little too like slapstick for the comments it was making. I really enjoyed Barbie. It made amazing points coming from a woman's perspective that I feel like only women mostly get. But it was in the middle of the writer's strike. It was impressive to see how the actors took to handling press because they couldn't really speak about the movie or doing anything. So, instead of promoting their movie, they promoted like the writers and all behind the scenes people, which I know all three of us are behind the scenes people. So it's like kind of nice to see like A-list stars speaking out and for the people who aren't seen.
Yeah, I did love this thing too. I think the thing that made it work so well, Stan, because there's such opposite movies that like when people were seeing them back to back, it was very hilarious. There's the debate like, what order should you do these in? And like, if you saw Barbie before Oppenheimer, I feel like you were like a sadist because then you're like just want to be depressed. Whereas like if you see Oppenheimer first, at least Barbie pumps you up afterwards.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I would actually see Barbie first before Oppenheimer, personally. If I were to pick, just because I think Oppenheimer leaves you thinking more contemplative thoughts at the end of it than Barbie, and I'd rather be leaving the theater with a double feature with those thoughts in my mind rather than Barbie, which is just like, oh, that was good. I had a good time, and I wasn't thinking too deeply about Barbie after the fact, while Oppenheimer still crawls in my head. So I actually disagree with you, Mike. I would have gone and seen Barbie first before Oppenheimer.
Well, for me, who saw Oppenheimer first, I saw it like in the theater. I think the weekend it came out here, but I was like four of my friends, and like we came out of the theater, we're like feeling like, man, that was like dark and depressing. So it's great to walk out. You like the world kind of sucks after you watch that movie, and then you're sitting there like, oh, like the joke was, oh, maybe we should go see Barbie and feel better about ourselves.
Well, I mean, do you feel better about yourself watching Barbie? I guess it depends though how you take it, your viewpoint going into it. There are some people who watch Barbie and was like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," just yelling at clouds. That was a lot of old man yelling at clouds. But I think it depends subjectively how you went into the movie. I think Oppenheimer objectively is a well-crafted master class of cinema and Christopher Nolan's best written work, undeniable. I think Barbie is a comedy, which means it's subjective, which means you may find it really funny, you may not, but there are great points in it. But it is more subjective than Oppenheimer in terms of an enjoyment. In terms of enjoyment.
Yeah, Stank, I do feel like we'll talk about both of these movies again when we're doing the Oscar preview in like probably like a month or so.
I would agree with you.
All right, so let's go on now to the writers and actors strike, which basically took up, I think the writers were on strike from May until I think the end of September. I think the actors on strike from July until November. So, Sam, your take on the strikes?
I mean, it's not solved. It's a band-aid over a bigger wound. But I think everybody's hurting for work. I know of a lot of people who've been out of work for the longest time and now they're back and it is like all guns blazing in the industry. So it's a lot. I mean, for me personally working in sports, I know a lot of people were looking for something new, something different, because there wasn't a lot of entertainment going on. So sports was like was relied on very heavily. So I mean, I'm hoping that in 3 years from now, I forgot how long the deal actually is. It's not going to be this massive issue, or people will just cough up some money and try to, actually pay people livable wages. Not to get too, crazy and emotional on here, but it's a serious issue. Everybody's suffering in this economy. So and people are expecting really great shows, really great movies, but you can only make that with writers and people behind the scenes, not just the actors on the screen. So I mean, I have so many feelings about it.
Yeah, Stank, I feel like it's something that's been bubbling for a while here because we saw the streaming boom where everybody's trying to make as much content as possible, as cheaply as possible. And now we have all these mergers. Everybody's trying to protect the bottom line. So the studios say, like, we could just use AI more. We can just like cut the piece of the pie the writers and the actors get. And then this leads to this big content like shroud where basically the entire fall on net or on like TV basically reality or sports and game shows. So I mean, like, I think we're sort of seeing like the consequences of the past decade of like every racing to have a streaming war, and now it's gonna start panned out in this strike.
Yeah, I do think this is a classic example of cause and effect. The streamers, and when media went to that kind of distribution model, we went for quantity over quality, and you needed more people doing things, and then it led to quicker projects and people getting paid less for these quicker projects, and then it snowballed, and it led to changes that need to be made. I think you mentioned the AI aspect. For me, that was the most interesting thing, just listening to different podcasts and reading the news about it, is how they were tackling this scenario, which is not only changing Hollywood and changing how things are made there, but changing the world too, and how people are going to be interacting with it and stuff like that. And I think that it was one of the first major places of business, Hollywood that is, that had to address it head on, because the writers and the actors, especially the extras, were like, you can't just duplicate us with AI and expect to be okay with it. And so I think as AI gets better and stuff like that, it's going to be more of a continuing thing. But I do love the protection that writers got from the AI. I think it's important. I think, like Sam said, that you need the behind the scenes people in these shows. I think a lot of people didn't know that writers stay on and are on set during filming to rewrite stuff 5 times over as they're redoing scenes and stuff like that, because the director can't be doing that all the time. Writers are there on the set if they're doing their job well. And some studios weren't doing that, and they were cutting costs, and it caught up to them. Like I said, snowballed. So I think it was a learning experience for the people who watch a lot of these things. I know it was for me, in terms of how involved these people are on a day-to-day basis, not just pre-production and then post-production with the editors and stuff like that, but during the actual production as well. So it's gonna, like Sam said, this is a bigger problem. It's a good thing that it was solved. Unfortunately, a lot of projects were delayed with the strikes this year, but I think people, this is one of those things where people sided against the big companies in the grand scheme of things. I think, if I remember correctly, Bob Iger came out looking real bad with some
Oh
comments
yeah,
that he
he
made.
did.
So people started to shift and turn and stuff like that. So I don't think we're also going to know how this pans out until like 3 years down the road, when the next time these negotiations come about. It's going to be like a giant trade in sports where you want to judge it right away with these draft picks and stuff like that, but you're going to have to wait to see how it all plans out in the future. So people are rushing to have an opinion, but in reality, we got to take a step back and breathe, because we don't know how things are exactly going to play out in the future.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's interesting how like the public sentiment was actually on like the side of the writers and the actors for once. I mean, it's compared to, like, for example, like the 2021-22 like baseball lockout, there was a lot of like people going, "Oh, the players make too much money," and they're siding with the billionaire owners for some reason. And now it felt like this time I felt like the general population majority was saying, like, the billionaire studios make too much money. Like, the actors and the writers should get their fair share.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I think, yeah, go ahead, Sam.
sorry, but it's just the whole fact that people just don't know until you're in it, and that's my biggest issue with it. It's like read, educate yourself on these situations, whether it be like, the lockout back in 2021 or the strike now. It's just read, get yourself as much information from reputable sources as possible, and then you can inform us for our opinion. But that's going into a whole other issue of 2023 with these social media people like talking and making judgments that they're just for likes and for views, which is, now we're getting into a whole other aspect, which I'll back off on. But it's just, you have to realize that there's people's lives who work 9 to 5, or like they work long hours, and they're like, they're there with big companies working for. I know we all work for a bigger company, and we're like the small people on the end of the chain. So it's just like, if people understood how things worked, it'd be a little bit easier for them to digest the information and make an informed, thought. As mean as that sounds.
Yeah, and we also did lose a lot of content from this. Also, Stanko mentioned that like a lot of stuff gets shuffled around in 2024 and beyond from not being able to shoot. But like, we also had a lot of shows just like straight up canceled during the strike. I mean, like, HBO killed Winning Time during the strike. We had projects that were renewed get unrenewed by streams like Prime. Like, Stanko called The Peripheral like 2 years ago on the podcast, that got canceled after it was previously renewed. Like, there was a lot of stuff that it just got like tanked because of the strike.
Yeah, and that's the repercussions, and that's like the longer things down the road. I think we are going to get more to a quality over quantity, back to that, which is great. Frankly, it's the HBO model that made them so good for so long, where they just don't pump out shows. Every show they put out for a reason. And I think more streaming services are going to get back to that. Now, with the consolidation of streaming services, how is that going to change things when people eventually merge together, which is going to happen? I don't know if that will change back to just the pushing stuff out as much as you can to get people to subscribe, like what Disney had when they first had Disney Plus. But again, that's time will tell. I think we're at the top of a hill, and what happened with the writer's strike is basically someone flicked a piece of snow, and now it's going to be trickling down, and we're following it, and we're trying to catch up, but we're not going to be able to until it all explodes at some point, and we're not going to know when we hit rock bottom when this all kind of pans out.
It's also funny when you talk about all these streaming services merging and whatnot, and like now there's rumors that HBO and Paramount might merge and have their own streaming service. You're like, is that basically just cable? Are we going back to the cable model basically?
Oh yeah, of course. The whole thing is cyclical. Absolutely.
Yeah, because all the people will cut the cord say, like now it's expensive to cut the cord. I'm gonna go get the cord back.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, frankly, HBO made the merge with Discovery for the Max brand has been horrendous. It's been an absolute abomination on that app, and my enjoyment of that app has dwindled significantly since that merge. I'm sorry, I don't want to be seeing Desperate Housewives and CNN on my front screen when I open up to want to watch The Last of Us. Like, that's not something that I want to see. So they need to find a better way to do it if more of these companies are going to merge. You got to find a way to segment the different types of streaming services if they're all in one thing. I don't know. It's hard. I'm not smart, but I just know it's a problem from a viewer standpoint. I know it's hard.
It's hard. And speaking of somebody who also had a very bad 2023, says anyone who like basically cost themselves a career more than Jonathan Majors did this year?
I mean, you don't be a bad person is basically it. I don't think off the top of my head anyone has had a worse 2023. But he really, messed up big time, putting it lightly. But consequences have actions, Mike, right?
Yep. Certainly do here. And Stanko, we thought at the beginning of the year, like this is going to be the year of Jonathan Majors. I mean, he's the only good thing in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. He has a great turn in Creed 3, and then the domestic violence arrest comes out. The details get more and more disturbing as you see it. He ends up losing the suit, and then like Disney drops him. Like his acting career is like probably on like kaput for a while here. I mean, like it's very, very disturbing, that whole saga.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be kaput for a while. He might be going. I think it's a year in prison is what the sentence was. I'm not entirely sure. But I think, like Sam says, just don't be a dick. Don't be a bad person. Like I don't know. It seems like a very very easy thing to say, but a lot of these people who get a sense of power or fame, they commit a mistake and it haunts them, and rightfully so. So I don't. Jonathan Majors is, frankly, from an objective standpoint, very good actor. He is good at what he does when he's on the screen. But guess what? What you're on the screen is only part of your life, and it's a minimal part compared to what you are off of it. And now those actions are catching up with him. So it stinks. He was the best part of Quantumania, without a doubt. It was the only thing saving that thing, and the Loki TV show, from what I heard too. He was great in that. But now Marvel, which already had a bad 2023, and Disney, which already had a bad 2023, is going to now have to recalculate plans that they didn't really have set in stone anyway. So they got a lot of shuffling to do, and Jonathan Majors is just one major piece of that. And he's being punished for something that he rightfully should be punished for.
All right. Anything else you want to get to in the headline section? We're going to TV and movies, Stanko.
Well, I mean, I think we should probably just talk about how Elon Musk is a crazy person, right? I mean, I don't know. That was the one other big pop culture thing, and this is more of like a news thing maybe than pop culture. But Elon Musk was everywhere, but in a bad way. The opposite of Taylor Swift, if you will. Every single thing he said or did stirred controversy. He bought Twitter, which turned it into X, and just now nearly isn't as good anymore, and from a viewer standpoint. And everything seems to be going downhill on his side. So I don't know. That's the only other huge, super big headline that I think took over culture for a long time, and it has had lingering effects as we ended 2023 and now we head into the future, because God knows what X is going to be in the coming years, if it exists at all.
I feel like you do a whole separate podcast on what Elon Musk did last year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a much bigger topic, but I do think he should be addressed as one of the bigger headlines, and his buying of Twitter and changing and all of social media, et cetera, et cetera.
Sam,
when you give like when somebody who has billions of dollars and unriddled ADHD, like this is what happens. Like they can't focus on a project more for like than 2 seconds, but add in the fact that he's not a great human being, and boom, you get Elon Musk.
Yep. Yes. Anything you want to add on the headline front?
No, I think we covered most of it. Except for the whole, I'm disappointed in how my team went, but that's just a me thing again. I'm making this all about me. 2023 review about what Sam's most disappointed about.
I think that I think one thing I'll mention before we move on here is I think we did have like a very distinct like three separate like, meme phases of 2023. I mean, we had the Kevin James meme on X for like the solid like early part of the summer, which is confusing. Then we had the one ticket to Oppenheimer thing that was also a huge deal. And now we have the Pop-Tart mascot. Like I feel like those are the three big ones of the year, Stanko.
I mean, yeah, we were talking before. I didn't get the Kevin James meme. This is one of those things where the youths just have their own sense of humor, and I wasn't part of it. It was happening all the time, and I saw it, and I was like, I just don't find this very funny. And it's just one of those things. I'm old. I'm 31 years old. I don't get social media anymore, and this was an instance where that happened. So this one just wasn't for me. I enjoyed the Barbenheimer stuff because it's movies, loved all that. I'm happy people were discussing movies and having arguments about it, so was happy about that. And also, who doesn't love Pop Tarts? So that ended 2023. So who doesn't love an edible mascot when you can get one?
Yeah, Sam, the Pop Tart took on a life of its own because I mean, like it was like very creepy. And you get the photo afterwards of I think the K-State players eating the edible Pop Tarts, all these eyes left afterwards. It was very weird.
Yeah, well, yeah, they make you love the Pop Tart and like root for the Pop Tart. Then he goes into the giant toaster and gets eaten. I was like, this is so like terrible but hilarious, and I still love it, but I'm still mortified that I fell in love with this Pop Tart mascot, and now he's getting cannibalized, even though he's not a human. I know there's nobody in there, but still, it's like it's triggering.
Stanko, I know this is a long time away, but we get a lot of Halloween Pop Tart costumes next year.
That's a great call. I don't know how you do it with two people. How does a person be a toaster? Like I don't have the creative mind to think about how someone becomes a toaster. Like I don't know.
You might have the toaster on its side. So the
maybe yeah, someone just dresses up as a Pop Tart and is carrying around a toaster. I mean, it's a great possibility. It make a lot of sense. I think we're gonna get if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are still a thing, we're still gonna get a lot of those coming 2023, or 2024 come Halloween. But I think Pop Tart one might be happening so late in 2023 that people are going to forget about it by October 2024. That's going to be a great costume. People are going to go, specific sports fans are going to be like, oh, that's a great costume. So keep that one in your back mind, Mike. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I do feel like
in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to be, everybody's going to forget about it in 3 weeks to a month. It's going to be gone. I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. Like, is it coming early? I think everybody but Pop Tarts for Halloween.
That's true. That's true.
All right, so let's get to the TV area here. So we're gonna condense this. They're going through every streamers or not. They all kind of did blah in terms of like content wise. So, Sam, give me your top 5 shows of the year.
All right. So I'm gonna start with the one that I felt like there wasn't a lot of good TV, just like blanket statement this year. I personally like feel like I can't even remember half the things I watched. But I'm gonna put Queen Charlotte up there. For our lady listeners, maybe some of our male listeners, it's a great show. I'm looking forward to Bridgerton. I guess it's season 3 because this is on the side. I got Queen Charlotte. I got The Last of Us. I got The Bear, which if anybody works in a restaurant, please tell me that is not exactly how it feels working in one. As somebody who has worked in a restaurant, just is chef's kiss. And then I have Fall of the House of Usher, which I was very surprised about. And my top one for this season, I know it's been on for a couple seasons. It is Reservation Dogs. If anybody has not seen that, this last season was very, very well put together. Excellent season this year. I think that was like the best thing I've seen.
All right, so that's a good list here. So Stank, I'm gonna give your top 5.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't watch 5 TV shows from 2023. So I'm going to give you the one that I watched and that I absolutely loved, and that's The Last of Us, as Sam mentioned. I'm not a huge TV guy. I watch shows 3 years after they come out. I'm watching The Queen's Gambit right now. So that's where I'm at with my TV viewing. But The Last of Us was an absolutely unbelievable television show. Love the video game. Watched it week by week. Unreal stuff. And then the other 2 shows that I just know were constantly talked about at work that I think should be mentioned on this list are The Bear. As Sam mentioned, I think everyone had an opinion on that show, whether it be good or bad or whatever. I had random people call me up saying, you need to watch the Christmas episode of The Bear. And I was like, I've never seen a single episode. I have no idea what you're talking about, but sure. And then the last season of Succession. I think everyone who watched Succession was excited for it. I think they felt it was satisfying. I know there's one major episode that has a huge plot twist that people went absolutely nuts about. So I do think the last season of Succession also sucked up the zeitgeist in terms of TV culture for 2023. But the only one that I saw that really had a lasting impact for a lot of people was The Last of Us, and rightfully so, because I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, The Last is on my list as well. Basically, the unanimous one for the three of us. It was a really great show. I had that on there. I'm gonna say here. I'm gonna put in Ahsoka was on there for me. I love that show. I thought it was a really, really good Star Wars show this year. Trying to think of what else was on my must list here for the year, but there was a lot of stuff sort of blended together here. I'll also throw a bone to Winning Time too. They had a great season too, even though it got canceled.
Yeah, you were very upset when that show got canceled. You texted me on the side and you were angry.
Yeah.
Mike Phillips was angry.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very angry at that because HBO gave that show no chance, basically. Because the second the finale aired, it was like, oh, we canceled it.
I don't know. Write him a letter, Mike.
Yeah.
Write him a very stern letter.
In handwriting, though, don't email.
Yes, handwriting. Obviously, more personal that way.
But if my handwriting sucks, I won't be able to read it if I handwrite it.
Well, especially if you're angry, you're probably going to be writing very fast.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff sort of blended together. I do think what do you think in terms of The Last? What do you think made it stick out in comparison to everything else?
Well, I think it was the Pedro Pascal renaissance. People fell in love with him, Daddy, Zaddy, however you want to say it. Like he's not the MVP of 2023, but he's on the short list. I think people fell in love with him. And I think he was remarkable. I think the show, for people who played the video game, it kept the vibe of the video game remarkable while also adding tons of texture and layer to it. And it's a hard thing to do because guess what? Video game adaptations often are terrible. Like, I don't know if you watched the Halo show on Paramount Plus, but it wasn't good. Like, it's hard to adapt video games. And HBO did it because they were like, we're going to create a TV show. We're not going to create a video game here. We're going to make this with the quality that we have with people that we trust. And guess what? It was incredibly successful. So also, it's not a zombie show. It's a people show that has zombies in it. And I think that people went into it thinking, oh, it's going to be a scary thing with the crawlers and the clickers and stuff like that. But when they realized it was more about the characters than about the actual zombies, I think it actually had people more excited about it. And also, no show had a sadder episode than The Last of Us. No show made you scream at the screen and then also cry at the same time. So The Last of Us, yeah, emotional.
Yeah, and Sam, I know it was a highly controversial episode. I feel like I think I've seen a lot of buzz at the end of the year that like episode 3 of The Last of Us, as far as the Bill and Frank story, which is like a very minor part of the video game here. Like that's like
it wasn't in the video game. That wasn't in the video game. They made that for the show.
Yeah, like I mean the characters in the video game, but like they were not, but they were not explored upon like they were in the show. I think in fact that episode I think like got so much praise like for how it was done and for two characters you see for 60 minutes, 65, 70 minutes, and they're gone. I think that's really well done.
Yeah, look what writing does. Look what good writing does.
There you go.
Let's just, put that point there.
So good.
I cried. I cried a lot. It was the best. I didn't watch a lot of TV this year, but it was the best episode of TV I've seen from any show this year.
And what's her face? Bella something, right?
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, she well God, she did amazing. I love Pedro Pascal as much as the next person, but she stole the entire show to me. I thought she did amazing.
Yeah, that's my episode of the year as well as that episode. Like number 2 for me was the 5th episode of Ahsoka, Sam.
Is that the one? I'm sorry, I don't want to ruin it. Stanko who watches 3 things.
I canceled my Disney Plus. I'll tell you that. I canceled it. It's on my LVPs this year. You're going to raise the price that much for a yearly subscription? Sorry. Your shows haven't been good enough for me to care. Out. Done. Gone.
That was the episode with the flashback. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, that was like the one with the Clone Wars flashbacks.
That was the only episode I liked of that entire series. I hated Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was so disappointed.
All I know now.
I don't pay for Disney Plus. I mooch, so I'm not canceling. But I haven't watched Disney Plus in forever.
Didn't she survive a lightsaber wound again? Didn't another person survive a lightsaber wound? Isn't this a thing that happened again for another show where it was awful the first time and then they decided to do it again?
Yeah, this is a problem that's gone back to the sequel trilogy with that one. That was like,
Yeah. How about when you die, you die?
yeah, poor Qui-Gon Jinn.
No, he had a rightful story and ending. He died.
No, I mean like poor the fact that he died. Everybody else who has that same wound lives.
Yes. Well, I'm tired of it. I heard about that and I got angry. I wasn't even watching the show.
Yeah. All right, so let's go now to the movie department. Which here is we're gonna start with the 5 top movies of the year. And I know Stanko has seen more movies, so I'll save him for last on this one. But I'll throw out my top 5 that I saw this year. Oppenheimer, I think, is number 1. I'll put that on top of the board here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I have number like or whatever the title was, the Spider-Verse movie was really good. I have that up there as well. I think in terms of being a top 5 worthy movie, I think Barbie does make the bottom of the list here. At number 5, I think it is that good of a movie. I will also throw in here a sleeper pick here. Stank, have you ever heard of the documentary Disturbance in the Force?
No, I have not.
It's a very good documentary. It's on Apple now. I think you can rent it for $5 or watch it for 10. It's a documentary about the making of the 1978 Star Wars holiday special. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, I'll watch that. I'll watch something about old Star Wars for sure. Not for sure.
Yeah, that's really good here. And I'll throw Air in there as another candidate that I liked for the year. So I'll go to Sam next here.
I had a lot of same picks as Mike, so I'll throw in some of the ones that we haven't heard yet. A sleeper movie that I was very surprised about, and judge me all you want, but that Super Mario's brother movie was pretty good, and I hate Chris Pratt.
Well, you didn't have to see his face.
I don't like his voice either. He's like kind of on my low of my list, but I really liked how they did that movie. I was so surprised. Just had to throw that one out there. I really liked Flowers of the Killer Moon. Did get a little boring in the middle, but the end, like if they cut out some of the middle and just tacked on whatever they had in the end, and then they could have done a better ending. Don't want to give anything away because I know it's relatively new. I weirdly really liked the Boston Strangler movie on Hulu.
Keira Knightley?
Yeah. I was very surprised about that. It was a very well written story, but again, I also have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Universe. I have Oppenheimer, I have Barbie, I have a bunch of things. I've actually seen more movies in 2023 this year than I did TV shows.
I do have one to add. I'm sure it's on Stanko's list, but I forgot because in my list I had it for like I just wrote it on the fly 2 minutes ago. John Wick Chapter 4.
All right, I was gonna say that's on my list.
Yeah, so Stanko, your list.
Well, to be fair, I have blind spots. I haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet. I haven't had 3 hours to sit down and watch it. I haven't seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because I'm honestly not super excited to watch it. I thought the first one was good. It was really good, but it didn't like change the world of animated filmmaking and superhero stories for me like it did for other people. But I understand that I'm going to watch it because it's going to be nominated for a bunch of stuff. But so I have blind spots too. So I have not seen everything, but in terms of the 5 I have, in no particular order, John Wick Chapter 4, The Killer by David Fincher on Netflix. I love David Fincher, so any movie he makes, I'm going to love, and The Killer is no exception there. Maestro, new one with Bradley Cooper out on Netflix. Gorgeous, gorgeous movie with a performance that is unbelievable. I mean, it for a passion project to come out as well as this movie did is unbelievable. Bradley Cooper, between A Star is Born and Maestro, is becoming must-watch director and writer, which is crazy to say. Oppenheimer, which we mentioned, which I think is probably the best overall made movie of the year in terms of entertainment and also craftsmanship. And then my 5th is a movie called Past Lives, which is going to be an Oscar contender. A romantic story about a childhood crush between 2 people, and they discover each other in modern day and reflecting on their past and their cultures and etc. And it'll just make you feel things. So those are my top 5. John Wick Chapter 4, The Killer, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Past Lives. In terms of honorable mentions, Air and Barbie are in my honorable mentions category. Fair Play on Netflix, I really, really liked. And the more time passed after I watched it, the more I liked it, the way it played with power dynamics. May, December, also playing with power dynamics on Netflix. Natalie Portman's going to be nominated, probably Julianne Moore too. Reptile, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem I loved that movie. I had a great time. Reminded me of 90s childhood nostalgia. It was fantastic. Probably won't win anything because Across the Spider-Verse is a thing that people love, but Mutant Mayhem, if you want to throw in a 90-minute kind of same animated style thing from the mind of Seth Rogen, it's quite good.
Yeah, for two other honorable mentions I've thrown here, I forgot as well. Creed 3, obviously the Jonathan Majors thing kind of sours it on a rewatch, but it was a really good movie in the moment here. And Guardians 3, James Gunn knows how to make superhero movies. Not many people do it these days, but I do want to throw one train out to Stanko before we move on here. I think Stanko will appreciate this. Like a lot of these big budget sequels like this year all kind of flopped in terms of box office results. But I think Stanko's very hyped about this.
I am Mike. Yes, I am happy. I'm not upset about it. Original storytelling, original ideas, and stuff like that. A lot of the movies that are up for Oscars this year are completely original ideas. Yes, I'm very, very excited. I think we should get away from sequels and big franchises, and I'm glad that we tend to be leaning that way. Though we still have movies like Dial of Destiny and stuff like that that came out this year that weren't bad, but weren't as profitable as in years past. I think people are getting tired of it, believe it or not.
Yeah, Stanko, would you like to know something wild? And Sam throws that one to you as well.
Tell us something wild, Mike.
I am
Yes.
looking at the top 10 movies from the box office for this year in terms of what came out here. Would you be surprised to know that Fast X did not make the top 10 in domestic gross this year?
No, I'm not surprised because frankly, Fast 9 was an abomination to filmmaking. I didn't hate Fast X because I thought Jason Momoa was awesome. He's the only one who knew what that movie was about and had fun with it. Now, granted, the ending is again an abomination to filmmaking and is the most anticlimactic cliffhanger of all time because you know exactly what's going to happen. If now, granted, Vin Diesel also in trouble now, possibly not a great guy, accusation. So we'll see what happens with the Fast franchise. But I'm not terribly surprised, Mike, because guess what? You got to start. If you're going to have a franchise that runs 10, 11 movies, they all have to be somewhat decent. And the past 2 or 3 in the Fast franchise weren't very good before Fast X. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking at the top 10 in terms of like what the movies were in American box office in terms of like this. I've seen, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've seen the entire top 5, and I've seen 7 and 8. So I've seen 7 of them.
That's pretty good.
The
That's
only one
think
that
I've seen all 10. What are you guys going on here? You got
Yeah.
family, man.
I have.
Yeah, well, the top
Definitely.
10 for reference here, American box office last year were Barbie, Super Mario Brothers movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians 3, Oppenheimer, Little Mermaid was 6, which I did not see, Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, John Wick Chapter 4, Sound of Freedom was 9, and Taylor Swift The Eras 2 movie was 10.
Sound of Freedom is also just came on Amazon Prime streaming. I think literally on January 1st or late December, and I have no desire to watch Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't. I don't have 2.5 hours, however long it is, to watch a live action animated Disney movie.
I boycott all live action Disney remakes. I haven't.
Yeah.
I watched one and it was Beauty and the Beast, and I was so upset by it. I have not watched another one. And really fast before we move on, nobody mentioned Saltburn, which
I haven't seen Saltburn yet. It is
Okay.
on my queue to watch.
Let me
It's
tell
on
you,
my queue.
the 2 movies that I seen that were, I think, the most beautifully shot were Maestro, which I think Carey Mulligan better win the Oscar for Best Actress, because I think, no offense to Bradley Cooper, I thought he did okay, but I thought I don't know, she did so good. I'm at a loss of words. She did such a good job, and it was so beautifully shot that's why I kept on watching that movie. I had my hangups, but I also thought it was a good movie. But Saltburn, another beautifully shot movie. Weird. I will let you all know it is weird and a little strange. But holy crap, it was good. And if you appreciate cinematography, you'll love that movie.
All right, let's now sort of go to the biggest whiffs of the year. It can be movies, TV, Elon Musk, whatever you feel like here. So, Sam, give us your whiffs of the year.
I don't know. Can you just put the whole year kind of in a giant whiff? I thought 2023 was pretty whiffy, to be honest. I thought that there's like, the list goes on. We touched upon most of the points already that I was going to be making, but yeah, I'm just gonna generalize 2023 in entertainment, that and the fact that we had the writer's strike, because that was terrible and we should have never had that to begin with.
So Sam's vein, 2023 is the shot of the edible pop or just the eye left. That's 2023.
Yeah. 2023, thumbs down.
Stanko, your whiffs.
Well, I think Marvel and Disney overall had a whiff of a year. I don't think much of their content was well reviewed or well watched. And Iger again took some massive losses in terms of public relations during the writer's strike. I think the royal family took some losses. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, kind of crybabies. Kind of just, I don't want to be friends with them. I don't want to meet them. I have no desire to possibly ever interact with them ever. They don't seem like a great hang. And also King Charles, not a great start to his kingdom. I don't know. It wasn't really well liked to begin with, and then just made things worse. So I think the royal family took some L's. Again, I think Elon Musk took some L's. I mentioned that already. He was battling things left and right, much of it to his own creation and his own demise. But maybe he shouldn't fire over 50% of his staff and then need to hire them back in order to make the app function again. I don't know. But yeah, I think, and then also, I mean, big. I mean, this is creeping on LVP, but biggest whiff is underwater searching Ocean Gate 2. That's just a massive whiff. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. I don't think people are going to be doing that anytime soon. So, yeah, Xbox and PS2 controllers of old school yore also took a loss, because now anything controlled by that thing will never be trusted ever again. So those are my biggest whiffs of 2024.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple out here too. In terms of like a recent one, Rebel Moon was not good, Stanko.
Again, it's on my list to watch, but reviews were horrendous to begin with. I thought the trailer sucked. So guess what? Not surprised at all. And now they have a second one coming out that they need to market for April, which is crazy. And it probably is going to be just as bad.
The pacing was wackadoo on that movie. Like there was like, I'll give you the brief plot summary. Like it's like Pete constantly watch this, but we're doing it on Sky Guys, like coming up here soon because it's the Star Wars rejected project idea. So it basically is like if Star Wars and Starfield and John Wick had a baby. That's the movie.
Yeah, and like Zack Snyder likes to do too many things at once, and guess what? That doesn't lead to one coherent idea; it leads to a bunch of different small ones. So, yeah. And also, there talk about him like, oh, there's a Snyder R-rated cut or whatever that I wanted to do, and he already is making comments about this, and it's like, bro, just make your freaking movie. Stop complaining about other variations of it, and just make the good variety.
Yeah,
shut up.
Yeah,
Netflix lets you do your own thing. They are known for that, and now you're saying there's other versions. Be quiet.
Yeah, and in terms of watching this movie, I will say like there's a big sort of thing where like we're gathering a team of like soldiers that fight this like imperial force basically, and like we get like some of the recruiting is like really long pace where like we get one point where like somebody's flying the hippogriff from Harry Potter, basically cut that scene like take for take they have that in there, and then another one's a guy who's been in a gladiator ring for years, and it's like 2-second pep talk. Okay, I'm in. Wait, what? Like that's the kind of pacing issues we're dealing with this movie.
Yeah, expectations were not very high for that for me. So that's going to be a movie I watch while I'm also doing something else. It's not going to be something I'm going to pay close attention to, because from everything I've read and heard, and now from also your statements, it doesn't deserve all of my attention.
Yeah, it's a background movie for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I'll also add here, I think obviously we can talk about all the studio execs. We talk about them at the top as sort of being greedy and ruining like the back half of 2023 for us. Like the Mandalorian deserves the merits for whatever the hell they did with Jack Black and Lizzo showing up for an episode. Like that was
the Mandalorian was bad this year. It was just bad. It was a bad season of TV.
I'm not disputing that. Mandalorian was bad, and the biggest one though, I think Marvel, DC, take your pick. Like they both sucked horrendously this year, outside of James Gunn.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, because this is a long year. Was Peacemaker this year, or was that 2022?
That was 2022. So I take Guardians 3 out because James Gunn did that. They did fine.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, I don't think comic book movies had a great year in general. There were 3 Marvel movies this year, and 2 of them were panned. Yep. And then again, James Gunn made the good one. So, and then you had all the controversy with the Flash and stuff like that too. And the Aquaman movie came out, which means absolutely nothing because that character is not going to exist anymore. Like, I don't know.
Shazam 2 was a thing. It was horrendous.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, Zachary Levy. Yeah, so I would agree. Comic book movies did have a bad year.
Plus, you also had the flaming piece of garbage that was Secret Invasion on Disney Plus. Like that was like might be the worst piece of Marvel content I've ever seen.
All I know is that show was remarkably expensive, and people hated that finale with a vitriol that I have not seen, frankly, since like the Rise of Skywalker, the ninth movie that came out. In terms of people being angry at a franchise for just doing something so horrific to the fans.
Like they wasted so many things here. And Stanko, I know you're way behind on Marvel, but so you're gonna
I'm catching up on the movies. I only have 2 left.
yeah.
I'm not watching the TV shows. I'm not. I didn't like WandaVision. I'm sorry. That's the start of it. And I'm not watching TV shows to understand movies. I'm not.
Yeah, so let me give you something that's gonna make you very angry in terms of story point they put in Secret Invasion here, which I know you're never gonna see. So
Okay.
so in this show, Rhodey's in the show. And it turns out that Rhodey has been a Skrull since he gets injured in Captain America Civil War. So that means the Rhodey we've seen the entire time in the MCU since then was a Skrull. And they just sort of way magic wand like that happened because they said it would be a plot point because they had to get him back to not having function with his legs, whatever thing they're doing with him next.
Okay. I don't know Marvel well. Sam and Mike, you know it both better than me. That seems like that would lead to some continuity issues and some other stories that have happened on the in between.
That's gotta be correct.
Okay. All right. Cool. As long as we understand there, it's almost like you need writers on set to make sure that things are happening and that continuity works within a giant 2-decade long storytelling process.
Yeah.
That's so weird, Stanko. Why would you need writers? When you
Why?
Mike
Who
said.
needs things
Mike's
to
like,
flow?
and that happened. I enjoyed that, Mike, immensely.
Yeah. I mean, the Marvel just this year is completely went off the rails because I mean, what James Gunn's the only one who had an idea what to do. Is he actually wrote a movie about his characters and had character based stakes. Whereas, like, we heard for how long about how like, oh, Ant-Man's gonna be the greatest thing ever because we're gonna introduce the entire Phase 5. It was a CGI filled piece of crap.
It was absolutely awful.
You know what I don't get to is like, don't get me wrong. Did I enjoy Guardians 3? Yes, I did. Did I think it was a good movie? No. I didn't think it was even that good. I thought it was gonna be, I don't know if somebody just hyped it up for me, thinking, oh, it's so good, it's so good. I'm like, oh yeah, it held my attention for what, 2.5 hours. But honestly, like their content is getting so bad. Like, you had the Marvel, like the Phase 1, boof, should have ended it, could have picked back up in 10 years. Honestly, it's just like, I know that's what you're trying to get after the money. I know there's a whole thing about it, like Stanko's. I'm also not smart, like Stanko, you called yourself unsmart, which I think is wrong, but like I don't know how these things work fully, but it's just ridiculous how bad it's gotten. How bad it is. So embarrassing what we're putting out for media these days.
Yeah.
My thing is Marvel just holding out hope that like when they bring in the X-Men in 3 or 4 years that it's going to rekindle. Like the thing, I love the X-Men. The X-Men were like the first comic book thing that I loved, and like I watched the Saturday morning cartoon show when I was an adult. Like that's how much I wanted to get into it, and I am terrified for how they're going to bring it in. I am absolutely petrified at how they're going to make it matter within this grand scheme of things when the X-Men could be its own story that you could create your own 2-decade long story with if you did it right.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that worries them, there's a whole article, I think was it a Hollywood Report Variety had a whole thing about how the decline of Marvel here. And you read it's because they don't understand what they're doing wrong because like with the Marvels flopping in the year, making like, what was like $100 million box office in terms of that, like their big takeaways was the director left at the end of the movie. That's why it was bad. Like, no,
that's just not true. You're also banking on Brie Larson to be your giant star, and she hasn't been in a movie since Captain Marvel, and she's not that great of it. She's very pretty. Like I get like you want to put her on a poster, but she's not enough to carry a movie on her own when she hasn't been in the zeitgeist for a very long time. Besides popping up for 10-minute spurts in other various TV shows and movies.
Yeah, it's like it's very disturbing. I mean, now there's a rumbling that they're talking about resurrecting Tony Stark and Black Widow, which to me it's like that means you're out of ideas.
They've been out of ideas, I think, for a little while. They need to find something.
Yeah.
I mean, they put all their money in the basket with the Thanos story, and guess what? It was very, very profitable and overall very, very good. But
Yep.
they didn't have a plan B once they tried to re-kick it all.
Yep. All right, so let's sort of wrap up here. A couple of things here. So MVP of the year, Stanko. You think would be more saying we just agree at Taylor Swift's the MVP and come with somebody else as the plan B MVP?
I mean, yeah, I have three people that I have as like a short list of MVPs, but yes, Taylor Swift is the MVP. I think that's safe to say, Sam, right? I mean, it's hard to deny that.
Yeah, honestly, as much as I know I'm not her biggest fan, but I give credit where credit's due. I don't know who else can measure up to that, what she did this year.
All right. So who else was on the short list, Stanko?
I have Austin Butler as a sneaky on the short list guy with the Elvis thing that happened, and he was absolutely catapulted into fame. He's a good looking dude. He has the voice, and he's going to be in the Dune movie that's coming out in 2024. And I think everyone knows his name now. So I think he's kind of just on the short list. And the Kelsey brothers, not just Travis. Now, granted, he's dating Taylor Swift, but also you got Jason Kelsey too in their podcast. They are on every single possible commercial that you could possibly ask for. Every single time you turn on the TV, you see one of them, whether it be State Farm or Chunky Soup. Like they're just there all the time. So I think those are kind of my two runner-ups of people that, again, Taylor Swift is the winner, but in terms of other people who raise their profile amongst all of the world, I think Austin Butler and the Kelsey brothers are the two that came to my mind.
Sam, who else was on your short list?
I didn't put people this year. I know what you're gonna say. What are you doing, Sam? But because it all encompasses under this umbrella, and it's the quote unquote like storytelling. For all the crud and crap that we got this year, there are some really good projects that came out of it. And they're not projects that are, like Marvel and Star Wars and all this like stuff that we're just pushing in, same story, mixing it around a little bit and pumping out the same thing just with different actors in a different scene or scenery. But I feel like the new storytelling, like quote unquote, because I know like Fall of the House of Usher, right? Yes, that's Edgar Allan Poe, but it's reimagined. You have Reservation Dogs, you have Flowers of the Killer Moon, both Native American stories about, tragedies that happened to these people. It's like these different things that we're finding different spotlights and not just talking about the same things over and over again. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Maestro, it's another part of the story where it's just like, look at that. Look, we never talked about this person. Let's learn a little bit more. Let's do something new or, like relatively new, not just doing the same thing over and over and over again like Marvel's been doing.
Yeah, so I'll throw a couple other ones on the short list for the MVPs. Obviously, I agree with everybody else. Taylor Swift is the MVP. Beyonce sort of drafted like the poor woman's version of what Taylor Swift did with the concert and the movie. She did very well with that, successful in that front here. I'll throw Christopher Nolan in there because I mean, not only did he make a great movie, but Stanko, you remember the buzz about how hard it was to find the physical copy of Oppenheimer 4K? Because he basically said, like, get your physical media. They're going to take digital away from you. And then, like, 2 days later, somebody pulled the rights to a digital movie.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan also is probably going to be MVP in hindsight because he's going to be nominated for a ton of awards and possibly win his first director Oscar. So that's also a good one.
Yeah.
And while I have the microphone, I got to say, Barbie should be mentioned in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
It took over the summer. It had the greatest movie marketing campaign of all time. They asked if Barbie wanted to move because of Oppenheimer. Barbie politely said no, and then they were proven right in that decision. Margot Robbie, Greta Gerwig, everyone involved. There's no denying that Barbie should be in the MVP conversation as well.
Yeah, I had that on the list too. I said the whole Barbie phenomenon and Pedro Pascal for yes, like
that's right.
Because yes, Mandalorian was bad, but like it was still like I think like the number 2 like most watched like streaming show of the year, which gets him credit. Plus he was in The Last of Us, and like he has like a lot of stuff like cooking up here. So like he's got a lot of stuff that he's in the mix for. So Pedro Pascal is also a sleeper.
Also in a bunch of memes, guys, all over social media.
Ton of memes.
Yeah.
Ton of memes. One of my favorite ones is the one with him and Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, like, yeah, looking over in the car.
Your own kind of music. It's still on my freaking phone to this day, and I still love it.
Did you ever watch that movie, Sam?
No, I don't need to. When I have that beautiful scene in front of me of people's funny inputs about life, it can't be matched. But I heard it was really, really entertaining in a way.
It was a very fun movie, that movie.
It's on my list.
Yeah, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I'm sure Stanko has seen it.
I have not.
You should. It's very fun.
I will get to it. As Sam said, it's on my list.
All right. So
it's the ever-growing list, Mike. It never stops growing.
Yep. So LVP of the year. So Sam, lead us off.
Well, I mean, we went into such conversation about it, and I wasn't gonna like, be like, oh guys, stop talking about it. But Disney was my biggest LVP this year. Again, haven't opened the app in a long time, haven't used the streaming service. The only time that I have thought about Disney this year was when I went to Disneyland, but that's because I had to be a tourist for one day. And then I just closed that right back up. So then I was just like, all right, whatever. But again, it's just overall just that terrible, terrible decisions. I got nothing else to say. I'm just totally got distracted by my apartment. Oh, ADHD is also in poor people too, folks.
All right. So my LVP candidate, obviously, Marvel is sort of a blanket answer for me. I'm gonna say just like the studio executives who dumped this writer strike on us are the LVP for me, because I think like the fact that like they got the entire basically consumer audience turning against them, it's not a good look when you're trying to like satisfy the things. And I didn't even mention the whole fiasco of trying to shelve the Acme v Wile E. Coyote movie. Like that whole became a thing for a bit that they had to uncancel it for tax cuts.
Yeah, well, also like big studio shut down the Back Row movie and stuff like that too. A lot of decisions were made at a top tier penthouse level that affected people underneath, and without a lot of remorse that we saw. So again, that's a tough thing when the public is viewing you in that light, and your decisions are the ones that have direct correlation.
Okay, so who's your LVP, Stanko?
I mentioned Elon Musk. I think he should be in there because he's a crazy person. I mentioned Ocean Gate, that they took a tough loss. They'll never exist ever again. I remember big red boots were a thing. I didn't get it. What the hell was that? The giant thing with people wearing big red boots. I don't know. I don't get society that was a thing. Tom Sandoval, Vanderpump Rules. I heard about this all the time at work. I don't follow Vanderpump Rules, but the whole cheating scandal and stuff like that, bonkers. It was the major topic of discussion in my office for about a month. So and that show's coming back, but Tom Sandoval seems to be the biggest dick in that whole entire argument. So he's an LVP. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner breaking up, that got a little ugly. And also I like both of them in general, and now that they're broken up, it makes me sad. Didn't enjoy that. And then LVP was me, because I didn't really love Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then it won all the Oscars, and then I was upset about it, and everyone else was celebrating, and I was there in a vat of my own emotion being disappointed. So those are my LVPs for 2023 off the top of my head.
Bold to name yourself.
I mean, listen, I was very upset when it started winning everything at the Oscars, and I'm just like, I just didn't love this movie, and I wouldn't have it anywhere near my top whatever, and it was sweeping the awards. So I felt very much on the outside of society and culture then, and I was just sitting there on the couch, but I watched the whole thing.
All right, so we'll wrap up here. Now we're gonna look ahead to what's coming up in the next 365 days, because we have the bonus day for the leap year here. So
Ooh.
we got February 29th here. In terms of TV shows and movies, some shows I'm looking forward to here so far this year here. I'm looking forward to the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm coming out in February. I'm looking forward to, apparently, Stanko, do you know that there's a Dune, a company show like Dune like prequel series on Max is coming?
That's on my list.
Yeah.
On my list of shows I'm looking forward to. Yes.
Yeah, that one's coming up here, and I'm looking forward to the Avatar: The Last Airbender live action remake on Netflix. So that I've seen this stuff. It looks interesting to me. So I love the source material. Like it's gonna be 8-hour long episodes for season 1. I'm excited about that here. And in terms of the TV, anything you want to add, Stanko?
The True Detective, Night Country, coming out in January. I think it's January or early February. I love the True Detective shows, and Jodie Foster's excellent. So very excited about that. Avatar as well. My fiance got me into the animated show, liked it quite a bit. Curious to see how they're going to break up the animated show into different seasons for the live action, and if it will actually look good. I know Netflix stepped a lot into the anime live action realm this year with middling success, I think, for anime fans. I'm not one of them, so I can't really say, but they have dipped their toe in the water, so this is another test in that. Prime Video has Mr. and Mrs. Smith's show, which I'm excited about to an extent, because the movie is very entertaining. How are they going to make it into a TV show? Fallout is coming out on Prime Video. And then on Max, House of the Dragon, The Penguin Show, Dune Show. And then also I believe Rings of Power is coming back this year as well on Prime, which I liked a lot. So
It's this year.
I believe it's this year. I believe it's the end of
Oh.
this year, or am I wrong? I might be
Oh,
wrong.
no,
I don't know.
I'm pleasantly surprised. I hope you're right. I loved that show so much.
I hope I'm right. God knows they have enough money to, I don't know. It's crazy. But those are the shows. Those are a lot of shows I mentioned, Mike. And like I said, I'll probably get to a lot of them 3 years after they come out because that's the way my timeline rolls. But I do think there's some good high quality shows out there that I'll be interested in. Whether or not I'll press play, though, is a whole separate issue.
Yeah, I did check. It is coming 2024 Rings of Power season 2. So
Ooh, there we go.
Sam, what else you want to add to that category?
I really don't have much. I mean, I'm excited for Avatar. Now excited for Rings of Power, thanks to Stanko and House of Dragon. But other than that, I am keeping a low profile for like being excited for things because if you're not, have any expectations, then you won't be too disappointed when they come out.
All right.
Random question for Stranger Things fans in this podcast: when does that final season come out?
At least
2025.
At least.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which is dumb. I feel like they should just end it at this point because it's just like they can't do anything. The kids are going to be 30 years old by the time this comes out.
It'll be like with like the whole like friggin' Riverdale thing where you have like 27-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam, you want to start the movie section? We look forward to for movies this year.
I didn't really do too much research on this, guys. I'm not going to be lying to you to say if I did. But I really am looking forward to Dune. I'm looking forward to the second part of the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That is not coming this year anymore, unfortunately.
You gotta be kidding me. I got so elated with Rings of Power and then gone. What do you mean it's not coming away?
They delayed it because of even before the strike came out. It was just like the amount of like time it takes them to animate the thing. It takes them for so long. I'm not thinking you're seeing that till 2026, I would guess.
Okay, well, you know what? They do such a good job. I'm gonna let this go. But yeah, movies. I'm just gonna hopefully go see them. Just a 2024 resolution of mine is to go to the movie theater more often at like 11 a.m. when I can afford tickets. But yeah, no, I'm just I'm excited to see. Hopefully, there'll be new content this year. That's my looking forward to.
Yeah, I know Stanko has a lot of movies. So I'm going to throw some of my picks there besides Dune Part 2, obviously, here. I'm going to throw in A Quiet Place Day 1. I'm excited to see what they do with that. That's going to sounds like some fun here. I am curious as hell what the hell they're going to do with Deadpool 3, especially with Hugh Jackman showing up. So that's the only Marvel movie on the calendar. So I'm very curious how that's going to go here. And the Joker sequel is coming. The musical Joker sequel. The Joker Folie I do. I'm excited for. So Stanko, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I limited myself to 5, and we've already mentioned 2 of them. Dune Part 2. I'm very, very amped for it. Re-educating myself on the lore as we speak. So excited for that. Also, the sequel to the Joker. That was on my list as well, because what the hell is that movie going to be? Like, I have no idea what it's going to be. The musical aspect, I think Lady Gaga is a good actress when she has a chance, and this is going to be, she's going to have the spotlight on her. Can she go toe-to-toe with Joaquin Phoenix? I don't know. I think Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is coming out. George Miller blowing up cars. Yes, please sign me up. Thank you. Gladiator 2 expected out in November. Gladiator was the movie that made me fall in love with movies. So Ridley Scott's back with a sequel. I don't know if I want to put my expectations high or low to be elated or disappointed, but it's going to be there one way or another, and I'll be in theaters come November. And then Nosferatu, I believe, may be coming out this year. I think it is as of the calendar. Very excited for Robert Eggers to create this kind of horror movie. I have no idea how it's going to look, but the cast is great, and everything Robert Eggers has made, I've been excited to see. So that's kind of the horror side that I'm looking forward to for 2024.
I'm surprised you not mentioned Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff.
Well, The Continental wasn't a great TV show from what I heard. So the idea of spinning off John Wick, and they're already talking about making a chapter 5, which would make me infuriated. So I am putting that franchise in purgatory until I have my confidence restored that they don't bring back the character of John Wick and that they actually have their ducks in order.
Yeah, I mean, did they not learn what happened with Dial of Destiny? We shouldn't just resurrect this character just because.
I'm going to be honest. Dial of Destiny was fine. I had a great time watching the movie. Is it the best movie of all time? No, but it was good because it was made by a very, very quality filmmaker. But when a character dies, They die.
Yeah.
This isn't a lightsaber wound. They're not coming back.
Or Emperor Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker.
Why? You didn't even need to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean that was still, I think, one of the bottom barrel movie like experiences where they just had to do it, and the only explanation we had was somehow Palpatine returned.
Correct.
Somehow.
You know, again, it all comes back to the writers. It all comes back to the writers.
Yeah. Like we're gonna have one of these days in Sky, we're gonna sort of dissect what went wrong with episode 9. That's gonna be a whole podcast we're gonna do, but
that's 4 hours of podcasting.
That might be a month-long series.
That might be. You might need to break that movie down every 15-minute segments to find something wrong with it.
Every scene.
I'm not bitter about it.
Yeah, clearly. But I want to thank you guys for coming on here. Really appreciate it here. Sam, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm going to do that.
You can follow me on Twitter at SDEROS6, or just again Google Sam Derosa. Somewhere I'll pop up. So,
all
right, Stanko, people want to follow you and keep up with your blog. How can they do that?
I run my website, stankosstance.com. I post random movie, Bachelor Nation sports stuff up there every day. And then on social media, jstanko99. As Sam said, Google me. All my social media platforms are out there somewhere. And yeah.
All right, you can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week on the Sky Guys, let's take the Sky Guys podcast, actually review that Stars in the Force documentary. Definitely think it's worth checking out here. And stay tuned to the feed because we're going to give you our thoughts on Rebel Moon for what this could have been as a Star Wars movie. And I can assure you, PM has some thoughts about this movie already.
I'm sure he's heated, hot, and heavy.
Yeah, in terms of all sorts of crazy stuff going on there. That's going on here. We'll be back later in the week on this podcast, do some sports talk, do some NFL picks, break down that Nick trade, and more. But until then, Happy New Year, everybody.